Hello, and thank you for joining me on another episode of the Tech Exec podcast, where we help you create a team worth leading. As always, I'm your host, Aviv Ben-Yosef, and today we'll be talking about operating system. Before getting to that, I'm reminding you that next week I'll be holding another free live session where you can ask me questions and get a bunch of content all for free. If you can't attend, you can sign up and still get the recording later and a few bonuses. Don't say it, don't let you know. And it's about sparing the midnight oil, about creating a culture where people have a healthy sense of urgency without us having to go through emergencies to create it, about helping your team be productive and effective without going through burnout. Because, well, let's admit it, you're probably not growing too much right now and you can't afford to spare any good employee. So check out the link in the show notes and reserve your seat. Now let's talk about operating system. And this is actually something that relates to what we'll be talking about in the live session. Operating system is, of course, what we all are using right now, what's running my Mac as I'm recording this. However, I love talking about our own personal operating systems. I'm a geek, and this sort of analogy helps me think about how I manage things personally and how my clients do their day-to-day. There's a reason my first book is called The Tech Executive Operating System, because I think if we view it like that, we can find different models and different capabilities that we need to install or upgrade in our day-to-day work to make ourselves more effective and make those things be more automatic. Things that we don't have to exert so much effort to make them happen. With time, they become things that you just do without thinking about it too much, meaning that you have just gotten an upgrade and can operate in the world at a higher altitude, have a better impact on your team, and be more effective in general. So that's usually what I talk about when I say operating system. And today I want to talk a bit about your own and about a couple of models that I keep seeing that people are missing. So when you consider your own personal operating system, what's important is to understand is that this operating system, want it or not, you have one. We all have our own default way of doing things. We have our routines, habits, knowledge, and this makes the basis, the foundation for how we operate. Now, you might be pleased with your operating system, you might not be. You might have areas where you're doing excellently, and you might not. Once you take the step back and are able to try and look at this from that perspective, you might be able to notice all sorts of patterns and areas where you can work on yourself and improve. This is often what a third party like a coach or advisor can do for you to help you get there faster. And still, that's something you can do anyway on your own. And I really think if we all did more of that, we'd all grow dramatically faster personally, because this is not magic. It's just the tough, dedicated, disciplined work of self-introspection and applying what you learn/decide to do. Now, to drive this home and help you understand how this concept can actually look like, today I want to talk about two parts of this operating system, two models, if you want, that I see that so many people need help with, and therefore you might be automatically getting an upgrade by listening to this, and if not, maybe this will help you think about other models you can consider. So the first one, and a very basic one, is about how you handle your goals in general, personally. So sometimes I talk to my clients and I ask them what's important to them and how does that look like? How would someone looking at you would say, oh yeah, this is what's important to this person? Because you are not your thoughts. You are not your knowledge. You are what you do. Especially when it comes to work, the only thing that matters at the end of the day is what you do and the results you get. No one cares about anything else. And therefore, when you're considering your own goals, your own objectives, how would a third party looking at you from the outside see, yes, this is what's important to her because she keeps talking to people about that value? Or you can see that it applies to the decision making. How would I be able to tell that you personally really think growing your business ethically is more important than just growing it at any price? You need to be able to say what's important to you and not just say, show it. So when we talk about this objective-driven model, what I want to see is First of all, that you can articulate what your current objective is, your current goal, what's the thing that's most important to you that you're working toward. And then I want you to show me, how can I see that you're making progress toward it every day? What in your current operating system allows that? So maybe you'll tell me the most important thing is growing my managers, and you'll show me on your calendar how much time effectively you're spending with them, one-on-one coaching them. Terrific. However, if you tell me that the most important thing is helping them grow, and then looking at your calendar, we see this dissonance because you're essentially always busy in doing something else, then you're just saying that's what's important, but you're not really doing it. Therefore, it is not. And to upgrade your own model, start by articulating those goals/objectives, and second, show me how you actually make those come into being. If you haven't been doing it so far, think about what you need to be changing to make that into reality. That's model one. The second example I want to talk about today is about how do you view your own, in general, time use. And this is, if we're talking about operating systems, and I'm going to abuse the metaphor a bit more, we're going to talk about scheduling. You have a finite amount of time that you can dedicate to anything. And just like I used the example of the calendar to see whether you stick to your goals or not, in general, it is crucially important to find routines and schedules that actually work with you and not against you. So when you consider your calendar, I want you to just tell me for a second whether, whenever you open it, you feel discouraged and overwhelmed, or whether this is actually a tool that's servicing you, helping you. Are you a slave to your calendar, running from one meeting to the next, from one Zoom link to the next, because it pops up a notification telling you to do so? Or are you instead the master of your calendar, deciding how you want to spend time and do it? If you've been reading anything, for example, that Cal Newport has put out, you know that it is crucial for you to decide at the start how you want to invest your time, what's important to you, how would an ideal week look like, and then start adjusting the calendar to look like that as much as possible, as opposed to being reactive and just trying to find time for whatever you want to do in between everything else the calendar tells you to do. And this part of the operating system, this module, is something that I find that so many people get so much benefit out of just talking about this. And sometimes when I start with clients and they keep talking about overwhelm, we do this calendar reset where I just sit with them and try and annihilate anything I see there. And it is something that even if you were on top of a few months ago, usually I see benefit from doing this exercise every 3 months or so. So part of my operating system personally is I have a few things that I do regularly. I have things that I do yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly. And for me, part of the quarterly is thinking about how I'm using my time and whether I'm pleased with it or not, and deciding on what am I going to be focusing on or changing in this quarter, just as an experiment or because I know something is crucial. You need to be doing the same. Otherwise, you're not being a leader. You're being led by your calendar. All right? Those are two models you can think about in your own personal operating system. You can try and come up with others that are more important to you and upgrade those. If you need help, reach out to me. My email's in the show notes, and I'm always happy to help. And of course, do check out the show notes for the free session next week. And of course, if you haven't yet, do subscribe to my newsletter. It's the best newsletter online for tech executives. Every week, you're going to get a podcast, an article, 3 exclusive insights, and first dibs on things like that free session and other stuff. So, link in the show notes. If you have any comments, email's there as well. I'm going to be here next week. Thank you.